and I'm recording now. And we can banter, and then we can just like get into it because I don't want to keep you too long because it is quite hard. Um, but
Or is it just me?
that is true. But yeah, the basically good kid, bad parents. We can just talk about it. I had two bad parents in different aspects entirely.
Yeah,
One was gone, one was there, and there too much.
they're too much. Yeah, that's. I mean, you definitely would want the one that sucked the most. They're the least.
Yeah,
So
that
did your wait. Did your dad really invent a thing that made sun chips? Yeah.
that's what I was told. My sister told me that, and she said all growing up, everybody around was like, yeah, your dad invented the machine that would make sun chips. My dad's an engineer.
Does he have money, or is he bad with money, or like?
Actually has a lot of money.
Okay.
Actually has a lot of money apparently, or had a lot of money. Um, I don't know if my dad still has money, but from what I know, because I've never met my dad, but everybody else has met my dad. Yeah.
That's a wild to be like, everyone's met your dad, but you're the one.
Dude, mailmen come by, be like, I met your dad.
Terrible guy. Terrible guy. Terrible guy. What if your dad's a terrible dad?
Great ball. And so actually, that's something I thought about. Apparently, my dad is basically Caitlyn Jenner because transitioned, and then
He's a conservative stuff.
conservative, and my dad's daughter, just somebody driving. My other sister, the sibling I never grew up with, Jacqueline, apparently came out as gay, and my dad, being a transitioned woman,
Or okay.
yeah, was like, you can't be gay.
What a power move.
Yeah, I know.
If your dad as a woman is into men,
From what I know, is at least into ass play as a,
I mean, it is.
receiving. Yeah. Here's the thing: is that my mom sent me this message yesterday, and I read it, and she was like, "I saw your clip about your dad transitioning. Is that what happened?" And I was like, "You were there. You saw it. You told me that my dad would steal your clothes and wear them, and then would ask to be called like a girl and good girl, and was on hormones, and their testosterone level was at 15.
It's pretty good.
Was on full hormone treatment. Their testosterone was 15 when like the average is like 500 or something like that for a male or something. And so it was like, yeah, that's so clearly trans. How are you not piecing it together when you're the one that told me this information? I think my mom is like the worst detective, where she's like staring down like a pool of the killer's blood, a gun like with the serial number etched in, and a signed note from them being like, you can't ever figure out who did this. It's crazy.
I know. I remember finding there was like I was like a kid and I was in my parents' room and I was like fucking around and I like opened a drawer and there was like sexy lingerie in there and I was like, Mom's got sexy lingerie. Mom was like, that's your father's.
Your dad cross-dressed?
I don't know if he cross dressed, but he wore women's underwear. Yes.
Oh, okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
You like silly.
If it's bloomers?
If you imagine it was like granny panty, just like these thick white, like that'd be like grandma's panties, just diapered up. Yeah, it was not like that. Please, not.
No, these were like laced. So how old were you?
I don't know, like 7 or 8.
7. Honestly, you knew what lingerie was at that time?
Maybe I was 10. I don't know. It's probably. I mean, it was like 9 or 10. We were a very adult family, so it's like I don't like my parents. My whole family has always kind of like just talked at us like we were like adults.
Like colleagues.
Yeah, like never really minced words. we would have very like not necessarily political but philosophical conversations, and was never like oh, never like did like the kid thing where the dog's gonna go to the farm, or like that. It was very, and then by the time I was like 12 and 13, we had full grown adult conversations with everybody from grandma, granddad. Like, wow, yeah, they're talking with you, and they're just like, you need to get a job, you need to do taxes, like, when are you gonna take some responsibility around here? And I just learned how to walk. Like, okay. Yeah, we were.
You just put the blocks together, and they're like, he knows how to fill out like a job application. He could really put this together.
I think this happens a lot, but like a lot of times people mistake intelligence for maturity.
Yeah.
So my family's all very smart, so I think they're like, oh, everybody's like mature, so let's have mature conversation.
Yeah. There's a difference between intelligent maturity and like individual maturity and emotional maturity.
Yeah, and I mean, I've definitely made that mistake in some relationships before, where I felt like somebody was mature, but they were just intelligent, and then when it came time to be mature,
Yeah.
they were still kids. You're like, oh yeah, I'm about there, yeah.
That's to speak to that. I date really, really smart women, and I myself am walking around like I'm an idiot. And then, uh, one thing is that I found out my girlfriend was valedictorian of her high school.
Yeah.
Like just this past weekend, she just casually mentioned that, and I was like, I didn't know that. We've been together for like 7 months, and I just found that out. And then she was like, yeah, I was valedictorian. I went, and I went to Charleston or whatever. And I was like, yeah, of course. And then for college, and then she goes, yeah, but I did apply around. I got into Brown, and I'm like, that's insane. That's insane.
Really, I got into blue. You know what I mean? I was just more of a blue guy.
I was
Why
like,
you go to college at Charleston?
what?
Did she go to college of Charleston?
Yeah.
Okay, that's where my wife went for her master's. Oh, my wife was like 6th in our class or some. I don't know. She was always saying she's smarter than me, so I just assumed she was right.
Yeah, I mean, my girlfriend went there for undergrad, and then went to GSU for her master's.
Okay.
For her MBA.
Oh, really? Business woman.
Yeah, she's a businesswoman, but she's like the ethical kind, where she what she does for work is she helps to get foreign students into the U.S. to study.
Hate it already. Keep them out. No, but we should have our own knowledge.
They don't need to learn our stuff.
I think if they come here and they stay here, we need to stop giving people the secrets.
No, it's fake.
Good. All right. Well, I'm all for that.
Yeah.
If you come here and you're like, let's go Braves, and like you build stuff, that's cool.
You're like a Coca-Cola executive being like, why are we hiring people from Pepsi?
Yeah.
It's like,
I just, I follow a bunch of bad news, and it's always like, we train a bunch of people, and then they go to other countries, and then they like back engineer our stuff and devalue.
That's how Britain lost like the Industrial Revolution, is because they specifically were keeping the secrets of like all of the industry and like factories and whatnot, and they were trying to keep it so secret and not let anybody else get it. And then we sent like students, like spies, over to Britain, and just like they were working in the factories and just like noting everything, and then came back to the US, and then we dominated.
What's the thing is that they don't even have to send spies. We're like recruiting spies. Like, we're recruiting Chinese and like other countries' spies by giving them scholarships to come here, and then they go back to their country and just steal all our intellectual property. Because like China, if you build something in China, you have to sign something with a CCP. I know this doesn't have anything to do with parents, but you have to sign something with a CCP.
Oh, it's you, like China, everyone's parent.
Oh yeah, that kind of. And then, but you lose all intellectual protection if you build something in China, and so that's why China and like Temu has all these like identical knockoff products.
How?
Because entire companies have collapsed because they went over there with the factory. The factory started building stuff, and then China was just like, well, we're not going to build that anymore, kept the factory, and just kept producing that company's product at a lower rate. And companies just like went under because China completely stole her.
And the thing is Gear, if I bake that gear, you'll not know where. We're outside. Doesn't matter.
You kill.
No, here. I'm gonna pull Joe Rogan, and that I don't know enough about that information to push back in any way, and I'm just gonna fully accept that as fact.
Hey, I mean, I may not know about that information. That could be fake news.
Hey, and you know what? I get about 4 or 5 viewers per video, so sometimes 20. So 4 to 5 people just learned a lot, or fully got misinformed, and now are gonna take that information with them to their next interaction with a human being and spread that further. I don't know. You just created idea herpes in a way.
I do that a lot. That's what they call me on the street. I go, that's idea herpes over there. No, I don't know. I've thought about this a lot. If this is racist or not, it may be. It may not be.
Love it.
But I love when immigrants come to America and get really into American stuff. It's like one of my favorite things in the entire world. Or like a guy who's like Indian or from an Asian country or Africa, and they come over here and they're like, I love the honks. What about like, I fucking love the honk? And like they just get. I'm just like, yeah, it's cool here. I like it when they like that stuff.
I think, you know what that reminds me of? Is that when you show your girlfriend a TV show you like, it's like,
We gotta watch the next episode.
you're like, yeah, that's
They should do it.
That's sick. That's anything. Dude, did you see the guy, the German soccer player who came here and he was like freaking out about like Taco Bell and Wendy's, and
It was Holland. He's like, his last name's Holland, but I think he's.
I thought that was a different guy.
Does he look like a Neanderthal?
I know who you're talking
That
about.
guy reminds me of his ass too. Okay, so it's a different guy.
Yeah, but he was getting like famous online because he was like going to like every fast food place and just being like, this is the greatest thing I've ever experienced.
I've been crushing the World Cup fans coming here and being like, there's air conditioning everywhere.
Yeah.
And they're coming to Atlanta and being like, the roads are so nice. And if you live in Atlanta, you're like, these roads suck. Yeah, these suck. These are like our worst roads. And they're coming here and being like, these are amazing.
Yeah. So that's where you do, when you live here, you're like, man, there's so many problems. Like, there's so many things we need to fix. And then somebody who is from a different country comes here and they're like, this is amazing. You're like, you're goddamn right.
You're like, you're absolutely, it's, what's the thing where it's like,
I'm not patriotic in the slightest, but when somebody starts to actively hate America, I am partly like, hey, it's like when somebody is like, your brother's stupid, and you're like,
I was about to say, yeah, it's like when there's that friend that everybody's mean to, but then when someone who's not y'all are mean to them, you're like, hey, cut the shit. These are amazing. These guys are the best. And he's like, I am pretty awesome. You're like, shut up.
Yeah. No, bitch. Just fucking don't defend yourself. You look weak.
But no, I watched a lot of people like walking on the belt line and going to pause. They're like, this is so nice.
Yeah.
You're like, that is. There's other parts.
There's parts that are just, there are parts that are even worse. Yeah.
Yeah, I did watch a video of a British dude, and he goes, I do believe we're in the ghetto. And he was in the ghetto.
Yeah. So now that we've gotten through the topical portion, I do want to get into the family stuff. So if you can, for the viewers and for myself, because I don't know how much of your background I know, if you could kind of give us what the makeup was and like what the dynamic of your family growing up was.
Yeah, sure. I had a mom, I had a dad. They ended up getting married and then having 3 kids.
Do you know how they met?
Yeah, I think they were in a play together at Auburn. So they both at the Auburn University, and they were in a play called The B.A.A.D, which I have the flyer for framed at my house. But that's how they met. They were both like theater and kids. And it's interesting because I'll preface this. This is a disclaimer. I don't have any ill will towards my father. You know what I mean? My dad is a very flawed and complicated human being. And at this moment in his life, it seems like he's like turned a new leaf. I do not know.
Kind of like he's living a one man show.
Well, he has another family.
Oh, really?
Or yeah.
He has two. Wait, was this a secret family or is this after your family?
This is the third family.
Whoa.
So this is like so. I don't know what happened to my father, but he is probably a narcissist and definitely and diagnosed bipolar and doesn't deal with humans the way you're supposed to deal with them.
Yeah.
And so he's a very aggressive person. My mom told me that she seen my dad beat someone up on the side of the road with his like shoe more than once.
Just stayed with him?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. So to understand that dynamic, it's like you have to get into like, so like my mom, we're about buckle up.
Okay. Yeah. I'm here. I'm here, baby.
So my mom's parents had her out of wedlock. My grandfather, no, in like the 60s, who heard of it? And my grandfather probably never wanted to get married or ever have kids. My grandmother always wanted to find a rich man who would take care of her forever.
Yeah.
So she
Also trying to do the same.
she had married a guy and had 3 kids. That guy ran out on her. So she put all those kids up for adoption to start it over.
Whoa. Yeah.
And then met my grandfather. We've been looking for those kids for a while. Met my grandfather, had my mom out of wedlock. My grandfather was like, I'm not a family guy. And my grandmother was like, I'm not raising a kid. I already gave up 3 kids. I'm not raising a kid alone. So she was going to they're going to put my mom up for adoption. And so my grandparents, my mom's grandparents adopted her. And my mom didn't know that those weren't her parents till she was like, 6 or 7 or whatever. When my grandparents got married years later and came and tried to get my mom back. And that's how my mom found out her parents weren't her parents.
Wait. All right. Sorry. So that's been going for maybe like a minute. So we'll recap a little bit. So
my grandparents had my mom out of wedlock.
yeah.
Didn't want to be a family. We're going to put my mom up for adoption. She was then adopted by her grandparents and thought they were her parents until she was like 5, 6, 7, something around there. And then my grandparents did get married and came back and wanted to get my mom. And my mom, that's how my mom learned about it. And she actually had to like go to court and like pick.
Whoa, just there?
Yeah. And so she had never met really Dale ever, who's I didn't know that was
Her dad, yeah.
or Dale's the grandmother.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah.
Her mom. Yeah, her mom's Dale. I didn't know Dale was my grandmother till I was like 13. I just knew Dale was around. I was like, oh, this is Dale.
You just knew her as Dale?
Yeah.
Whoa.
And so my mom was like, no. I thought this was my brother, who I've only seen a handful of times each year at like holidays. And this is like my first time really meeting Dale.
Brother meaning her dad.
Yes. She thought that was her brother. So she was like, I'm going to stay with the people who I call mom and dad. So my grandparents ended up having 2 more kids.
Wow.
Having their own life and family.
Wait, they had 2 more kids, like meaning once they adopted your.
Bro, my grandparents who tried to get my mom back.
Yeah.
Didn't get my mom back. They had 2 more kids. And so my mom grew up with her like very poor grandparents.
Yeah.
And her parents started a whole family like without her. Yeah. And they were rich. That's crazy. So my mom had this rich family, and then the family. So my grandfather like invented like a Jiffy Lube kind of thing. He like opened a bunch of quick oil changes that ended up getting bought out by Jiffy Lube and made a bunch of money and like retired at like 47. And so my aunt and uncle are like country club. My uncle was like a tennis pro. He didn't play professionally, but he was like the tennis pro at a country club. Like they grew up like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And my mom, her adopted parents, her grandparents, they like didn't finish. My grandfather finished 8th grade,
Wow.
and they
Salt of the earth.
people thought he was the smart one of the family.
Wow.
He knew like the big math, as they said, and he would do everybody's taxes, and like write letters.
Multiplication.
Well, my great grandfather who raised my mom was like a genius. He played like 6 instruments. He was a radar tech in World War II, which at the time was like cutting edge. And then during her life, he was a TV repairman, like right when TVs were in bed. So it's being like an IT guy at the time. And so he was always like inventing contraptions and fixing everybody's stuff. Like he was like a legitimate like wizard. Anyway, and then my grandparents, biological, they ended up getting divorced, but Dale was just like always around.
Yeah, yeah.
So I knew Pop Pop was my grandfather, and I knew Mama, who was my great grandmother. I called her my grandmother, but also knew that Mama was Papa's mom. I didn't really piece any of that together. I was like, this is just our dynamic. Is I have a grandmother who raised my mom, and then I have a grandfather who's biologically my grandfather, who is also the kid of my grandmother. I never really figured out that, like, I was like 7 when I was like, oh, there's a weird dynamic here.
You're piecing together what's also basically you're doing the same step that your own mom did, where you're like,
Yeah, nobody, when you come into the family, no one explains. Everybody knows it.
yeah,
So no one explained it, and I had to piece it. And then I remember being like 12 or something, and being like, wait, who's Dale?
yeah.
And they're like, Dale's your grandmother. I was like, Mama's my grandmother. They're like, no, Mama's your mom's grandmother. It's like, well, then let Mom call Mom.
And I want to ask, so just so I'm clear as well. So, Mama is your grandfather's parents?
Yeah.
Okay, so they were
Mama and Papa are my great grandparents, and my mom's great grandparents who raised her.
yes, but then whose parents are they?
They're my grandpa, my papa, grandfather, and then Aunt Janie, who shot one husband and stabbed another one. Listen, I mean, they're hillbillies from like southern Ohio, northern Kentucky.
Oh,
Yes. Mama and Papa all had like 10 brothers and sisters. And my papa's siblings all died from like alcoholism. Except for all the men did, except for him. Well, you kind of say that he died from alcoholism because he was hit by like a 18-wheeler driven by someone who was like on drugs and alcohol.
Okay, that seems separate, but yeah.
So he did die from addiction, if just with someone else's addiction. But when my mom was 16, an 18-wheeler hit her grandparents' car, killing my grandfather and turning grandmother, into like an invalid, like bedridden. And so at 16, my mom had to like take care of a bedridden woman, and then now had no father.
That again, this is your great grandmother.
Yeah,
He's now widowed.
Yes. And so I say all that, and I mean, maybe we could get into the secret aunt and uncle. Why did my mom stay in a relationship with a guy who sucked? Is because my mom had like severe abandonment issues. And like, Mama loved my mom in her own way, but always made it clear to my mom that she was like a burden. You know, that like she didn't want to have to be raising a kid at 65, but she did. And so my mom was always made to feel like Papa did not do that. Papa was like, my mom was like the light of his life. But he died, he's gone at 16. So my mom was like alone in a house where Mama didn't really want her. And she's taking care of this bedridden, not getting any help from this other family unit who has tons of money. Hey, we want to get into that. Everybody got $100,000 from the trucking company. So my mom got $100,000, Mama got $100,000, Janny got $100,000, and Papa got $100,000.
Pop. Yeah.
Papa's dead. Papa got $100,000. But since my mom was 16, she couldn't get it.
So it went to.
So it went to Papa, who's like the biological next relative. But he never told her that. And he kept that money and like used it to start that business. And then retired. And then his family was rich off money he stole from my mom. While my mom was struggling to take care of.
Wow.
Yeah. But my mom organized Mama's $100,000 in a way where she never had to like, she never didn't have money.
Yeah.
So she ended up got better. She had like plates in all her arms. She had like a metal plate in her head. She had, it was like all, cause when the truck hit her, she got slung into the seat and the engine part came over. See, the only reason she lived was because she wasn't wearing a seatbelt. And it took the top of her scalp off and broke like all the bones in her body. And so when my mom, she's like an old lady.
You get addiction kills.
Yeah, dude. Even people who aren't doing the drugs. Anyway, fun side note. My mom has been always looking.
Already been so fun.
My mom's always been looking for these Bree kids.
Yeah.
First ones. Yeah. So when Ancestry came out.com, she was
You out there doing it on that? Yeah.
and she had a hit for a sibling. But it wasn't a half sibling. It was a full sibling. Right?
Yeah.
Weird. And so, and it's not Scott, his brother, who's my uncle. So she investigates. Come to find out, my grandmother had my mom, Dale, put her up for adoption, and my grandparents went their separate ways, and then ended up coming back together and getting married, and having 2 more kids. Well, in that away time, Dale had been pregnant, didn't tell anybody, had the kid, and put him up for adoption. Jesus. So I have a full-blooded uncle no one knew about, who was in the middle of these 2 families. Jesus. And then my grandfather had an illegitimate daughter who's older than everybody named Cindy. Shout out Cindy. Cindy's dope. She's a yoga instructor in Minneapolis.
What does she?
She's like 67. She's like 3 years older than me.
Isn't it crazy that there are people walking around with these stories and lineages? Like, I know you yourself, but also Cindy, who just has this family history too, and is just a yoga instructor just out there. Yeah. They're like, why aren't you the most famous person of all time? Because, like, that's so fascinating to me. You would, like, 500 years ago, let's say more like 1,000. 1,000 years ago, you would be an orator. And that they would be like, yeah, that's the person who just goes out and just tells the story.
Lineage. Well, there were people who did that who, the first half of the Bible is that. If there's Genesis, but after Genesis, it's just Dave beget Susan, and it's just a lineage of tracking Adam to ultimately David, just to show that David was like, a descendant of the first.
Which David, by the way,
Complicated human.
kills the Goliath, but then kills
Like-
Bathsheba's husband.
Yeah. So you're good about it.
Yeah. I never got it to work, but it's just like, to me, it was like, that's so insane that happened. And then later on, to like, God's vindication is for his son to sleep with David's concubines in public.
It's all weird. It's all weird. Anyway, back to me.
Yeah.
Enough people talked about the Bible. My mom is an English professor who writes. She's published several books on literature. Just recently published several books on poetry. One book is specifically about our family.
Of poetry?
Yeah.
Wow.
But she wants to write a story about her mom, a fictional story based off of her, about all the giving up the children.
I will say, note for that book, at the front, Lemony Snicket style, have a little family tree They just, you could go, okay, so I get, see what's going on. I get what's going on here. So that way you can understand, like, all right, as you're reading the book, you reference that, you go, yeah. Like how Lemonades take little quick little like maps and stuff like that at the front. You just reference that and be like,
What's crazy? What's crazy is like I only know 2 generations or a generation and a half up.
yeah.
My mom knows the generation above that, and so but that's gonna be when my mom dies. No one's gonna know.
Well, you could ask her, and then
Yeah, but like Dale's sister went to California. Apparently had a roommate had a roommate who got pregnant and was gonna put a kid up for adoption, and adopted the kid. My mom's like adopted cousin that she raised.
and that's where Dale got the idea. She was a,
Well, they lived together, I think, at the time, and so I think his name's Jerry. So the entire time, not out Jerry or anything like that, the entire time he had been raised by his woman, who's like his adopted mother,
yeah.
who also kind of acted like she was kind of annoyed that she was stuck with this kid.
Oh, that's how.
See, right? And then he did an ancestry.com and then found out that that woman, Dale's sister, was his mom the whole time. She lied to him his entire life.
Wait, so he wasn't adopted?
No, she just said that for 45 years and then died and never told him.
That's awesome. That's honestly, that's great.
So I think
That's so sick.
my mom, one reason why she let her up my dad is because she had like abandonment issues and always wanted a family that wasn't fucked up.
Yeah.
Wanted to keep it together.
And would you say your family situation is less complicated than your mom's?
Oh yeah, I don't know a single person whose family situation is more complicated than mine.
Yeah, yours. I have a pretty complicated one, but it's relatively easy to follow compared to yours.
It's like your dad had kids before you.
Yeah, we all have separate families.
So it's like your parents both had kids before you, had you.
Yeah.
Then I think maybe had more kids later.
So my mom, so my sister is older than me. We're all half siblings, and my mom married her dad, and then I told this last episode, but he cheated on her with her sister, and then was also found out to be a pedophile. And so I'm gonna relight these.
I got one of those, and I got one of those. I got a pedophile uncle.
Is it Jerry?
No, Jerry's a blessing. Jerry's a great guy. I'll be right back. Jerry's a great guy. Scratch that from the dope of spurts. Jerry's good there.
No, Jerry. Jerry seems like a class act.
I have so I have an uncle, won't say his name, to protect my cousins. But man, this guy was wild. He was wild. He was addicted to heroin. And he would show up with my cousins and be like, Les, which is my mom's name. He'd be like, I need you to watch my kids for a couple hours. I'll be back. And he just wouldn't show up for like weeks. And my mom would get to the point where she was just like, I guess we're just gonna like now have your cousins. Wow. And then he would just show up and be like, cool. And they ended up going, my cousins ended up moving in with different family members. And I know my uncle was in this like ring of thieves where they were like, he would get a job on a construction site and then they would come, he'd case the place and they'd come and steal a bunch of shit. And they thought he had ratted them out to like the cops. So they broke into his trailer and slit his throat.
Your uncle?
Yeah. And then he lived. And then he ended up getting arrested for like a bunch of child pornography. And when he was at port, this isn't funny because my uncle, I knew him. I loved him. He was a good guy to us. But he was at court, threw himself out of a 3-story window. to like not have to go to prison
And live?
be a chump and live. And they just went to prison all fucked up. But I mean, he did. I think he did. He did live the rest of his. He died in prison, but he did.
I love the idea of showing up fucked up in prison and they just go, whoa, and he goes, you should see the other guy.
But he, I think he got to send like live out his prison term in like an infirmary. So they have like in prison, they have like special prison areas for people who are like either dying or in wheelchairs or need like. So he was in one of those.
Was this one of the rich uncles?
Nah. This was my. I mean, I'm not gonna try to out nobody or nothing, but
You could just say like, yeah, whatever.
my aunt who shot one husband and stabbed another. This is her son.
Okay, that makes sense as well. That makes sense that
So he's not really my uncle. He's my mom's cousin, but legally nephew.
okay.
Because she, yeah. So it's like, but he's old. He's my mom's. He's like 4 years younger than my mom. So like, I always just called him my uncle
Yeah.
because my entire life he was like a grown up.
I will say my mom's cousin, that's an uncle.
Yeah,
Except
for sure. I mean, he was around, more than
my mom one time brought me outside of our house and was like, hey, Jacob, come meet this guy. And I didn't know who this was at all. This is just another adult that I happen to be meeting this day. I'm probably like 8 or something like that, maybe 9. And then I talk with this guy. I'm like, all right, whatever, man. And then he leaves. And then my mom goes, that's your cousin. And I went, really? Who's kid? And she goes, well, he's not like none of my siblings. He's my cousin. So that makes him your cousin. And I went, no.
that's too many degrees separation. I have a shitload of cousins on my dad's side. Anyway. So that's all just to preface. I think that's why my mom, she was trying to build the family she never had. And because of that, my mom's like the best mom in the entire world.
Yeah.
Very nurturing, always there, very understanding.
Not my grandma.
Yeah, she's not my grandma. My grandmas were my dad's mom, fantastic. Mama loved her dearly, but she was a prickly pear, dude. She was you to everybody. To everybody. She was born in 1919, never learned how to drive, never had a job. What? Fries and chicken. My grandfather was teaching her how to drive, but then they got hit by a truck, and so I think
That's when?
no, she wasn't driving, but she was learning to drive at like 60 something, 70 years old. I think like 65.
Wow. That'd be crazy if it just goes, all right, driving.
Put it in drive, and like
Actually, to a story of grandparents dying in car crashes, my grandpa was in the car when
he was shot. He was like, I knew I should have not.
Oh no. Are you good, Mr. Kennedy? Oh no, he's not. Don't worry, Jackie, I'll get you safe. No, my grandpa was in the car with his grandparents. So my great grandparents, or great grandparents. He was in the car with them. He's 17. They're driving. I don't know the exact story or the details, but they get into a car accident. He wasn't wearing a seatbelt, gets flown out the windshield, lands on the ground, and is perfectly fine. Like he's scraped up, but he's fine. And the car lit on fire and killed his grandparents, my great-great-grandparents, in front of him.
Yeah.
And so then, forever, he, since then, has never worn a seatbelt still. Because he's like, it saved my life.
That's how, well, it's something like 15% of accidents. It's like 5 or 15% accidents. The seatbelt kills you. But mathematically, you should still wear a seatbelt.
Yeah, you're a nerd.
The vast majority of the time, it saves you.
Yeah.
But there is, like my grandmother, she wasn't wearing a seatbelt. It's the only reason why she's alive.
Yeah.
So speaking of grandparents dying,
Wait, so she was wearing it?
she wasn't. And because of that, when the truck hit her, it flew her into the feet part. And then the engine came over her.
Wow.
So she was stuck in the car under the engine. But my grandfather was, a bigger guy and had the steering wheel in front of him. I don't know if he was wearing a seatbelt or not. Yeah, so the engine block came over and crushed us. Mom was supposed to be in the car, but they got in a big fight, and they were driving back to Ohio or driving back to, I think they were going to Ohio from Alabama. And they got in a big fight. My mom wanted to stay with her bio parents, who they were like visiting for like the summer. They got in a huge fight, and so he stayed. She stayed.
Wow.
Yeah. So she might have not. She probably wouldn't. At 18, look, she probably would have died if she had gone.
Yeah. It is crazy. Also, people think like, I think people not from there think Ohio and Michigan are more like, you know, I don't know, like regular. And then you get there and it's like, no, this is country as fuck.
A lot of it, country and redneck, and I mean, they were where my family's from in Ohio. You could throw a rock at Kentucky.
Were they in Cincinnati?
No, they were in Portsmouth, and there's a river, and on one side of the river is Portsmouth, and on the other side of the river is Kentucky. And so my great grandparents all grew up, all Pathol grew up in Kentucky. They're all from Kentucky, but they moved over the border because the factory was there.
Yeah.
And so everybody was working in the factory. My grandfather didn't work in the factory because he had like lung problems. Because all of his brothers did.
My mom was born in Cincinnati. I think all of her siblings were born in Cincinnati, pretty much, for the most part. And
Yankees.
the Kentucky.
Yes, darn Yankees.
But my mom is one of 8, and she's the second oldest. And growing up, she was so in love with Cincinnati and what Cincinnati is that she had photos of Cincinnati on the wall when you would enter the house. And then further in,
Bengals fan?
yeah, Bengals. She went to University of Cincinnati. She had to drop out because she got into a car accident and then got like a concussion.
Cars, BS.
Stay in the cars. Don't be in
A car. Don't be. Especially if you're a grandparent.
Yeah, if you have a child, get out of a car.
Get out of her car.
Tuck and roll right now. But so she went to University of Cincinnati, had to drop out. Then just started working in like basically like a place selling cell phones. Like cell phones were first coming out, so just started selling cell phones. Really, your mom's a little younger. My mom was born 68.
Okay,
She's 60s there. My mom is still not 60 yet. My mom is technically a young, and by technically I mean for me, she's a young mom. At 28, she had me, but at 23, she had my sister.
I think my mom was 28 when she hit.
Yeah. And then she was 36 for sure. Right?
So I'm 6 years older than you.
That's where people talk about like, oh, having a kid at like your mid 30s is like dangerous or difficult or something like that. And then my mom easy crushed one kid at 30.
My wife's uncle, I think her grandmother was 4.
So her grandmother
was 40 when she had her uncle. Like
wow.
my mother-in-law and me are the exact same age apart from her brother. So Anna's uncle is 14 years older than I am, and then Anna's mom is 14 years older than him. So we're the same age range.
Wow.
He was a whoops. I didn't know you could have kids at 40. You know, that's what happened. But we're speaking of grandparents dying. My dad's parents, my grandfather grew up really poor in Louisiana. 10 brothers and sisters. When their shoes would wear out, they would cut cardboard out and then like put it in as like the sole of their shoe. And his father died when he was like 10 or 11. His mother remarried, and then his stepfather killed his mother and then killed himself. And so
How quickly after?
like a year or 2.
Wow.
So he
What does she say?
She didn't say anything. She's dead.
No, I just say,
Yeah, what did he say to him? I don't know. Must have pissed him off.
oh, what, are you going to kill me then yourself?
Well, it was Louisiana in like the 1940s. So I'm sure she was like, I think we should integrate the schools. He was like, what? This is insane. And so
I like the idea. He kills her, and then he goes, "She does have a point. What am I thinking?"
well, and so my grandfather went to live with my Aunt Bunt, or his sister, who I've always known as Aunt Bunt. And he at 15 falsified his birth certificate and joined the Navy.
Wow.
And so like the men in on both sides of my family were wild as shit.
Yeah.
Like on my mom's side of the family, almost none of her grandfather's siblings made it past like 45. They all died from like alcoholism. And then my family's got a lot of addiction and shit like that on that side. And then my dad's side of the family, all of them were like crazy until like 25. Apparently they all chilled out after 25.
Great developments.
My grandfather went AWOL from the Navy and was like hitchhiking around the country. I know he like ran from the cops on his motorcycle and like crashed and like broke his leg. And then a bunch of his buddies hit him inside the oil pit in a garage, like a mechanic shop. So he's like laid in a mechanic shop with a broken leg for like 6 hours while the cops looked for him. Like, but eventually he got out of the Navy. He went to the brig, and then they were like, this kid's 15. And so they chaptered him out of the Navy. And then at 18, he joined the Air Force. And so served honorably, served in Japan during like the Korean War. Came back, went to Auburn, got a degree in accounting, met my grandmother, and had a bunch of kids. It became a very successful / semi-powerful connected man.
And wait, so then his son was your dad, right? And then he went to Auburn, and then your mom also happened to go to Auburn.
So like my dad's great grandfather went to Auburn. My grandparents met at Auburn. My parents met at Auburn. My grandfather was one of the founders of Auburn University in Montgomery. My aunt, cousins, they all went to Auburn. My uncle went to Auburn. We're War Eagle. I was born in Auburn. That's where my mom got her PhD and thought. That's why I was born there. So I went to classes at Auburn before I could law.
And I would go with mom. Well, she's one of the people bringing a baby to class.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes she'd take my sister. My sister would sit in the back, just hang out.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, so we grew up where
You mean your wife?
UGA.
They thought took that's the rules.
Yeah, I mean, she's a diehard dog fan.
You created a curse. You added a curse upon your family.
Well, my wife is UGA royalty.
Really? How so?
Her great grandfather won the Heisman Trophy and was a national champion, and was very connected to UGA. And so her great grandfather went to UGA. Her like that the second generation went to UGA. Her dad went to UGA. She went to UGA. All her cousins went to UGA. So they're like purebred UGAians.
You know what's crazy is that I did so poorly in high school. I didn't even get into UGA.
I didn't really apply to any schools because I just joined the Army.
Yeah.
So I didn't even, when I did the SAT, I was like, I don't give a shit about this. I took the ASVAB, got a 91, which they were like, you could do any job you want with a 91.
I want your job.
I don't want to be a recruiter. I'd be good at it though.
I just like the idea of you go, give me your hat.
It's like, I'm Sergeant Worthington now. You're going to be a cook. So, but I think that fucked my dad up a lot because my grandfather, so my dad was, I don't want to say his full Christian name,
Yeah.
but he's a junior. And I was supposed to be a third,
Yeah.
which is really fun because their initials is Jew,
Oh, okay.
Jew. And so I have a money clip. I have a gold money clip that was my grandfather's that had engraved on it is Jew.
sounds like a star.
It seems like it would be like, this is kind of racist, but no, I mean, there's such. But my grandfather was Big Jack. Everybody as Jack, Big Jack, and my dad was Jackie, little Jackie. And I think that this like power struggle of like always living in my grandfather's shadow. My grandfather was very well connected.
Did that? I'm saying so. Well connected. I assume very wealthy as well. Did that pass down, or did that end a generation later?
My dad squandered our inheritance.
Really?
Yeah. So my grandfather bought my dad a moving company. And so this moving company was supposed to be our inheritance. My dad was supposed to grow the company. And then when time came, I would work in it. And me and my brother and sister or whatever would work in it. And then it would be our moving company. And that was going to be our inheritance. But he didn't pay taxes for like 5 years. And so the government came and took it.
Why?
Yeah. So.
And then your grandpa, I assume, is gone now.
Yeah, he died when I was 14.
Okay.
He was a great man. But
Easy to be around.
oh yeah, very, very quiet. When he said things, everybody listened. What he said, he was filled with wisdom, and he was funny.
Yeah.
So he would be one of those guys who just like everybody would be talking, and he kind of leaned forward, and either what he said was incredibly insightful or was like hilarious, you know. But he grew up in a hard time, in a bad way, and made something of himself. He was an accountant for NASA. During the space race, he lived in they lived in Huntsville. Or he worked in Huntsville.
He knew all the black women that worked there as the accountants or whatever, or the politicians.
He probably,
Whatever that movie was.
yeah, he probably seen them. I don't know if they were at Houston but he was there when they were building the shuttle that went to the moon. And I have some of his stuff, some of his NASA merch that he got. He had a pen, one of his first space pens that could write, because the way the ink works, pens work through gravity.
Yeah.
So if you're in space, there's no gravity. The ink doesn't go down into the ballpoint. So a space pen. I have only the first one of those. But very, he worked his way up to a very high level in the government. And then my grandmother, her brother was lieutenant governor of Alabama. And then like my uncle was the state purchase. So he was the head of. Anytime the government in Alabama bought anything, it went through the department that my uncle ran.
Isn't it crazy when you yourself don't have a lot of money, but then you hear about all the people in your generation before you did have a lot of money?
Speak for yourself. My mates came today. But I grew up without money. Yeah. Because my dad could never. So my dad was alcoholic. And he could just like never hold down a job. Yeah. So my mom's an English professor. And so they don't get paid a lot, but they get paid like enough. They should be paid more. But with my dad always fucking up and losing jobs. And so my mom's like trying to take care of all these kids on one salary. And then my dad would he'd go into a manic state and just spend all of our money on like shit we didn't need. Yeah. My mom would just be like, all our money's going on.
Yeah. But what was the coolest thing your dad ever spent money on that you were like, this is pretty sick?
One day he called us. He didn't call us because there weren't like cell phones. He shouted at us. My dad, I'm very loud.
Yeah.
And I have a very voice. Yeah, my dad has and he would get in the yard and just shout our names, and it would echo through the neighborhood.
Wow.
And we would race home. And I remember he got us and said that we had to clean out the utility closet on the house. Okay. I was like, fuck. And I opened it, and he had brand new bikes for both me and my brother.
Wow.
And one day he completely renovated our room. He bought all brand new furniture for me and my brother's room, and was gonna painted the entire room Auburn theme.
Man, and stuff for sure.
Yeah. And dude, because we took the door off the hinge, painted the rim blue, and we put up a bunch of Auburn shit. Took the door off the hinge, painted the door blue. I was like, hey, I think that's the wrong side of the door. He was like, shut up.
Okay.
Painted the door blue, put it on. It wasn't the inside door. It was the outside. It was outside. So now in the hall, there's just a blue door, and the other side's white. And he said that he did that so when the door was open,
Yeah,
it was blue.
You'd never be wrong. You never be wrong.
Dude, that's so funny. Like my mom also a lot of the like I think she's gotten better about it now, but growing up could never be wrong. Never be wrong. At one point, it's 3 a.m. I told this on the last episode too with my last guest. 3 a.m. My bedroom is above the garage. So it's like as soon as the garage door opens, it wakes me up. Like it's so loud, you know? Wakes me up 3 a.m. See my mom's car, drive out of the house, drive out of the driveway, take a left to go out the street. Okay? I go back to sleep. It's 6 a.m. or so I wake up. My mom pulls into the house, walks in, goes to her bedroom. I get ready for school. Right before I leave, I go, "Hey mom, where'd you go last night?" Like she's like just getting to bed finally. And then like she's just in her bed, she's like just fall asleep. I go, "Hey mom, where'd you go? Like before you fall asleep, just where'd you go?" And she just goes, "I didn't go anywhere." And you're like, I saw you leave. She goes, "Wasn't me."
Do you get? It wasn't me. She like shaggied you.
Yeah, she shagged.
Caught me in the bed. It wasn't me. Y'all hang.
Driving at the garage. Wasn't me.
Do your hurts?
No, I haven't seen my mom in 10 years.
Or I saw my dad at my wedding. I invited him to the wedding.
My sister's getting married next year, and my mom and I are invited. My sister told me this, and so she was like, "Hey, so I'm inviting mom. I'm inviting you. I want you both to be there." And I was like, "Okay, I can be there." And then she's like, "Mom's gonna want to talk to you about childhood," and I just went, "That's not the place to do that."
No, my dad didn't do that at the wedding. Thank God. He just was like, "I'm proud of you. Your wife's beautiful."
Yeah, my mom is literally like, "But we have to hash it out for car hash it out some other fucking time." Yeah, I literally am like, I'm gonna tell because I know she's gonna do it when we're there. I'm gonna tell my mom, "Hey, boundary, not here, not now." And if she tries to continue the conversation, I'm gonna go, "No."
Where does she live?
She lives in Michigan now. Or
What? Just hash out some more.
she lives in Midland. So,
I'll say this. You know, it seems like my dad's trying his best now.
yeah.
You know, he's got his family. I have two sisters that are half sisters that I've met a couple times. That are like 10 and 12. So I'm like 25 years older than that. Yeah. You know, guys, you know, still hitting it at 50, you know what I mean?
Hey, that's a dream, baby.
Yeah, so me and my wife, there's still hope, you know. She, her grandmother had to get at 40, my dad had two kids at 50. Our shit's right.
Yeah, you got these genetics have to.
They survive, dude. They survive. But my grandfather always said that if you didn't want people knowing about what you did, don't do it. And so, you know, I'll say the things that that my father did, and, you know, it's just the way it is.
So I do want to ask as well, because we talked a lot about the history of it. How did you feel about your upbringing, and how do you feel about your life now?
I didn't know there was a problem till I was like 13.
Yeah, that's where I realized it too.
Because I started having the big sad probably around like 11. And I had wanted to kill myself pretty consistently since I was like 12.
I dreamed of dying.
All time. Yeah, all time. And like, but because you grow up, it's kind of like one of those things where it's like you grow up with it. You don't know it's weird. Like culturally, you know, in like some parts of Afghanistan, it's like perfectly acceptable to like fuck a young boy.
Yeah.
But culturally,
I wish our culture could grow.
yeah. But culturally, that's not normal for them because that's Yeah, that's what their grandparents did. That's what their parents did. That's what they did. They do it now. Their kids will do it. So like they grew up in that environment. They don't see it as something.
Oh, where was this specifically?
Southern Afghanistan. So like I grew up in a chaotic family, and I was just like, that's just what family's like.
Yeah. It's like I liken it to the frog is being boiled slowly over the course. So by the time that you're being boiled, you're like, you don't even realize you're like, oh, it's just gotten hot.
It's just gotten slowly hotter. So like it was when the divorce happened, is when I was like, oh, things aren't okay. I know some of the crazy stuff, some of the crazier stuff my dad did, I wasn't privy to at the time. I know when I was younger, he got fired from Firestone because he pulled a gun on a customer.
That's awesome.
It's the early 90s, so you didn't go to jail for stuff like that. They just,
Dude, that's so sick. That's so sick. My dad Firestone, and that. What did the customer do?
no. My dad has lost jobs because he's beat up his boss more than once. My dad was an amateur bodybuilder, so like he was like, I watched my dad pick up a refrigerator by himself and just like walk it into the house when I was a kid.
Yeah.
My mom said that they got into a road rage situation where I don't know who cut who off first, but then my dad cut that guy off in retaliation, and then that guy cut my dad off and like stopped him, and got out of the car, was like, what? And my mom said my dad got out of the car and ripped his entire shirt off with one hand. And it was just like, just think, my dad was a bodybuilder. Imagine a man gets out of a car and just Hulk Hogan's his shit off with one hand, and it's just like, all right. And then
Yeah, guy obviously got back.
in the car and just triple away.
Funniest thing about that, I think, is that as the other guy, it's not even that guy's so strong he ripped his shirt up. It's that guy's so strong and so ready to fight. He now doesn't have a shirt.
Asking for it. He's asking for it. He's waiting. Dude, my dad was waiting.
I'm saying literally is that you would be like, that guy only plans on this fight to the point where he ripped his shirt off. He doesn't have a shirt for after the fight.
Wherever he's going, he's going to be shirtless.
Yeah.
And his wife's in the car.
Yeah. Wife in the car, shirtless. He could be not headed home. He's going to be headed out.
And he's like,
now-
I got to show up without a shirt.
Yeah. Wherever the plans were, she's dressed up. It's like, it's a tux. It's fully ripped off a tux.
But
I also understand why your mom was with your dad if he's able to rip his shirt off with one hand.
okay, so this is what my mom said about my dad. Is she said she fell in love with him the moment she saw him.
Yeah.
My dad was very good looking. Me and my wife, this was when we were first dating, went to my house for like a Christmas or something, and we were going through like a photo album and got to a picture of my dad, and she goes, who's that? I was like, that's my dad. Put it away. I was like, put it away, bitch. But my dad was very good looking.
Dad ginger or mom ginger?
Dad ginger. And so my dad was very good looking. He looks like Jamie from Outlander.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's very good looking, very charismatic. Like if you met my dad, everyone liked my dad.
Yeah.
Everybody liked my dad, except for my grandmother. She could smell the evil on it.
Yeah.
My mom, she's like, nah.
But she's a prickly woman.
She is a prickly woman, and that's probably why she could smell the evil on it. My grandma was like, that's not good.
She's like a Venus flytrap. It's got that set.
She's got little fucking tentacles. Very charismatic. My mom is an English professor, and she hangs out with English professors. And she said when she met my dad, he was the most well-read person she's ever met.
Wow.
So my dad's very smart.
I mean, he grew up rich, didn't he?
Yeah, he grew up affluent, and that's another thing, is anytime he got in trouble, my grandfather just fixed it.
Wow.
My dad would get pulled over, and they would see his driver's license and be like, oh, you're Big Jack, son. And just be like, get on out of here.
My God, you call it so hard. It goes so hard.
They would call him, and then my grandfather would
Sort it out.
Yeah, he would sort it out. And my grandfather was a hard man. You know what I mean?
Dude, when you go by professionally Big Jack, bro, he's got to be like in the mafia or something like that. That's so.
Well, he was in the good old boys. My mom had been married before my dad, which I found out when I was like 14. But
More like a gut punch when you found out, where you're like,
yeah, it kind of was, because I was looking through I found his wedding album, and I see somebody who looks like my mom getting married to someone who's not my dad.
yeah,
And then I was like, maybe it's Elizabeth, who's like my aunt. Yeah, because they look identical. They're like 2 years apart. And then I see Elizabeth.
wow.
And I was like, okay. And I was like, Mom, what the fuck? So my family, so I had a joke, you saw it, where my Christmas, my mom likes to play this game. Every holiday, my mom likes to play this game. What crazy secret are we going to reveal that no one knew about? And like every time I go home for the holidays, my mom's like, oh yeah, insert insane story we never heard of.
Yeah.
And my mom got wedding gifts for both of her weddings from George Wallace, who was the governor of Alabama. He was the one that like ran for president that wouldn't let the black kids in the pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my dad grew up. George Wallace was a close family friend.
Oh, like grandpa.
And my grandpa was high up in the Alabama government. And then not under George Wallace, but my grandmother's brother was lieutenant governor. So he was the second in charge to the governor, not George Wallace, but they all know each other. There hasn't been so
your whole family like was already associated with each other when they met, basically.
no, they didn't. The person that my mom married the first time, his family was connected to George.
Oh, I see.
My mom never like met George Wallace. She just got wedding gifts from George Wallace.
That was crazy. So it's just a sign to hang out, just as whites only.
Like a Ku Klux Klan costume.
Yeah.
I say costume, uniform.
Yeah.
Give it the respect it deserves.
Please.
I do have a joke because my family's from Montgomery. I have a joke about having my family from Montgomery means that my grandparents were like mad at Rosa Parks in like real time.
Yeah.
And then he woke up and was like, "She did what?" It was like,
They call her home, be like, Rosa.
"What are we doing here?" Yeah. They
Call her down. Well, that's back when it's operator. So you come, give me Rosa. Give me Rosa Parks. Yeah, I go, okay, and it's just her what? So funny.
But my dad was a chaotic force. Yes, anger issues. I remember one time I couldn't go to bed. I have insomnia my entire life. And my dad came into my room. I was like 5. And he goes, "What's your favorite toy?" And I was like, "That one." And he grabbed it and just snapped it in half. And he's like, "Go to bed."
Were you able to sleep?
No. I was crying the whole time. I guess I cried myself to sleep.
Honestly, probably help.
And he was a ER nurse most of my childhood, like night shift. Yeah, and so I'd come home and he'd be asleep. And you know that game in the 90s that was like "Don't Wake Daddy"? Yeah. I played that for real.
Yeah.
I played a real version.
Well, that's what the game is based on.
The consequences were severe.
Well, when the game came out, it was "Don't Wake Daddy" because he's living through war flashbacks, and if you wake him, he will choose. It's the Viet Cong. I just ripped your own son in half.
But yeah, so he was a longtime philanderer. So yeah, he cheated on my mom like the whole time. And
How long were they together?
like 19 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did your mom know?
When she found out is when it ended.
Wow. So for 19 years, he was just really good at getting away with it.
Yeah, I picked up on it. And I told my grandmother when I was like 10. I was like, I think my dad's cheating on my mom.
Also gut punch?
I didn't know what that meant really. I was just like, he's like really good friends with these girls. I think he's like seeing them or something.
Wow.
And
your dad's talking to you like an adult, so he's like, so I'm going to go cheat on your mother.
I'm going to crack this girl open, buddy. He's just like, dab me up.
Yeah, dabs up. He goes, come on, explode it.
But when he started travel nursing to California, and he would go out for like a month and come back for me. Go out for a month. And then it started being go out for 2 months, come back for a month. Go out for 3 months, come back for a month. And then my mom, through like an email or something, found out about the whole relationship. And was like, we're done. And he was like, I want to come back, blah, blah, blah. And then my mom like really was like, no, we're not gonna make this work. We're done. And he was like, hope you're achieving you the whole time, blah, blah, blah. And just was like, and then he just like never came back.
You haven't seen it since?
No, I've seen my dad collectively like probably about 16 probably about 16 days in like 4 hours over the last 23 years, 22 years. I went out when I was 15 to see him in California for like a week or two. And then I saw him at my basic training graduation for like a couple days. And then I saw him like one Christmas when I was like 21 for like 2 hours. And then I saw him at my wedding last year.
Wow.
And that was like the totality of our wow.
And he doesn't care to reach out or anything.
He reaches out like so apparently he's sober now. So he says he's been sober for a few years. And after the divorce, we would do like a happy Christmas, happy birthday phone call kind of thing, where it was like 10 minutes. And then when I got arrested for some crazy shit, I was texting him on Facebook being like, you know, I'm fucked up like a hard way and I might go to prison. I was looking at like 10 or 15 years in prison.
Wow.
And
The what? Do you mind? No, you don't have to answer. We can.
nah, I mean, you know, the clown stuff.
I don't know the full story of it.
Oh, so I got arrested for allegedly smoking meth at the counter of a Waffle House while dressed as a clown. But I was a drug dealer at the time, so I had like several ounces of weed, mushrooms, a shoot LSD, and some Molly on me. So I caught like 4 felonies, intent to distribute. But I was also out on bail for a previous felony possession. And so, stack in charge.
Was the dress as a clown part of it?
I used to street perform as a clown. And so I went out to street perform, but I also would sell drugs to people while I was performing.
While you were
If I met somebody who was interested.
and was like the front that you were busking, like they would toss money in and then you would hand them something?
No, we would just make, I mean, it wasn't like that. It would just be like, oh, you guys like the party.
And you go, I like to party.
Yeah, exactly. But so I texted him. I was like, this shit's fucked. I'm fucked. You know, and I was kind of reaching out like, I need like a dad, sort of.
Yeah.
And he told me he'd call me in the morning. And then he never did. So I was like, well, fuck you, dude. I don't need that. And we didn't speak for like 7 years.
Yeah.
And then he called me when I graduated nursing school. So
How did he find out about that? Like through Facebook or
just Facebook.
Yeah.
He got his Facebook taken away and his cell phone taken away by his wife, by his third wife, because he cheats.
Yeah.
So he wasn't allowed to have a cell phone or like an internet connection.
I imagine she was a lady he was cheating on someone else with.
He was. He got her pregnant while he was married to my stepmom, who's my stepmom, amazing. I love you with her. Occasionally on Facebook, my mom and her talk. Because after the divorce, my mom, Malia, I hate that I outed her, we beep it or whatever. She like reached out to my mom and was like, this dude's fucking insane. And my mom was like, I tried to tell you.
Yeah.
I tried to tell you, but he's so, you know,
Charismatic and
hot. And was just like, she's perfect. I know my dad told me this straight from a horse's mouth. I visited my dad in California. They lived in an old house in Redding. And in the backyard, they had like a 2 or 3 car standalone garage made of like wood. My dad got in an argument with Malia and went into the backyard and chopped the entire barn down with an axe. Like to the ground.
And he's so shredded, it was probably like 2 sheets.
Now he's like an old man and he had a stroke a couple of years ago. And you can't really tell unless you knew him from before.
Yeah.
But, you know, his deficits are all very minor. Through like rehab and recovery and stuff. But, you know, he's an old man now. He smoked for 40 years. He doesn't smoke anymore, doesn't drink anymore, but you know, he didn't take care of himself. So
Yeah.
what I'm saying is like whoop his ass if he can't do it.
Yeah, little Jack.
But I will say this. And I've talked to some people who've had tough parents, you know, we find each other. My father has always loved me and been proud of me. And he's never not said that. He was just, for the vast majority of my life, incapable of being an adult or a parent. And I don't know if like his upbringing is very shrouded in mystery. He's alluded to it not being great. I don't know what that meant, you know? And then also my family is riddled with like mental health stuff, you know? So he had mental health stuff with like this mysterious childhood problems. And so, you know, I think he did the best he could. He was just incapable of like growing up or being mature. So I've never not like felt unloved or like appreciated by my dad.
Yeah.
I just was just missing a dad, like a real.
Yeah. I will say, and we kind of cap it off here, is that growing up, I always felt loved by your dad. He would text me and be like, I love you. And he's like, hey, we're going to play catch later, Jacob. And they're like, you think you got the right Jacob? Or is this? And then it'd be like, you got me pregnant. And he'd be like, that's not mine. Put it up for adoption.
It'd be so funny if like turned out like one of your parents is like Dale's kid.
No,
Could be, dude.
dude.
Or grandparents.
Yeah. Well,
Cause my
yeah, Ohio, Kentucky-ish area. Yeah.
Because my mom's, those 3 older siblings that we've been looking for that we can't find, I think they all died in a car accident or something.
Together.
Yeah, because we can't find we can't find their kids, we can't find their cousins, we can't find, I've done Ancestry, or 23andMe, and my mom's done Ancestry, and we can't find any connection.
You guys all the orphanage or whatever that they.
I don't know. It was like it was like 100 years ago. But
Yeah.
it would mean that they're like 70
Yeah.
at least. Because my mom's 64, and the youngest one was like 3 or 4. The boy was like 3 or 4 when she left. So the youngest one is like at least 70. So they could be your grandparents. Are your grandparents adopted?
I don't think so. I think. Well, I do only know my mom's side. I've never married this. My dad's side though is like from Texas.
Cousin?
Yeah, I will say that my dad, I've seen a photo or two of my dad when he was with my mom. My dad looks like Jack Nicholson,
Oh, young Jack Nicholson or older?
like medium Jack Nicholson. Like
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest or like Shining?
I would say, yeah, like probably like like in between those.
Okay.
Like not full head of hair, where it's like not full head Jack, where it's like yeah, but like a little bit thin Jack, but not quite so gone as in The Shining. But he does. I would say he probably looks closer to The Shining Jack than not. But that's my dad. He's got like that strong, squarish kind of jaw, and then
Pretty lady. Pretty lady.
model. And then my mom.
You're like the Chandler Bing.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. He was my favorite on the show,
And now we know why.
Yeah. I was always like, man, this guy gets me in there. I think that's it. We've been doing it for about an hour 10. Thank you guys for listening. This has been a great.
Thank you 4 of our friends for checking this out. You learned something already.
Swafford, thank you for listening. Thank you so much.
Shout out the individuals.
Yeah. Jaime, if you're listening, I appreciate that.
The credits are just the audience's name.
Yeah, maybe, possibly Tori, if you listen to the post episode after you, I appreciate that too. Thank you so much. She wouldn't even listen to the whole episode. She'd probably watch like a snippet. But yeah, thank you so much, sir. Happy to have you. For sure. Bye, guys.